All right, Jason Dhir, man, what's happening, brother?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Dude, I'm glad you came in. I'm glad you've been able to see our facility a couple of times. And you saw us 10 years ago. You were just joking about the restroom with no doors on it.
Yes, yes.
So we've came a long way. But this is about you, man. So tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of who you are, and maybe just give people a quick synopsis of what you've been up to the last couple of years.
Definitely. So first off, thank you, Alex, for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here, to be honest. I've known Alex for a while and runs a great AAA operation here, and he's a huge inspiration to many entrepreneurs. So as long as I've known you as a friend and a business partner in many cases as well, it's great to align with your show.
I appreciate that, man. I really do.
So my name is Jason Dhir. I'm currently the CEO and owner and operator of Ultrahuman and CONSCIOUS1 right here.
Yeah, we're drinking it right now. So I sorry to interrupt, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about what we're drinking? This is a nootropic that you have, although I know you kind of don't call it a nootropic.
Yep. So, my background's nootropics. That's really what I specialize in. It's a nootropic product, but we really market it and explain the product as more of an ultra food for your brain. So the product is almost completely organic, completely natural, no artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, non-GMO, gluten-free, really clean product. And we import raw materials from around the world. We curate them very specifically, mountainous regions in Thailand, certain mountainous regions in India, where we get raw materials, import them in, test them, and build what is a multi-faceted juggernaut to get your brain optimized and firing on all cylinders. So, first off, it really helps with energizing and driving your focus. The second thing is it also helps decrease anxiety, which is a huge problem right now. A lot of people focus is not that they need more stimulants or caffeine. They actually need to calm themselves and become more present. And the third thing is it also helps decrease neurotoxicities too. And that's a big thing. So there's so much heavy metals neurotoxicities right now. And the idea of the product is really a dream product, something that you could take that's healthy, that works in as little as 20 minutes. And that the longer you take it, month by month, it actually makes you healthier neurologically. So we're drinking it right now. I think you just started maybe about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
I'm starting to feel a little something, man.
The product's amazing. We actually just launched this 3 weeks ago. So this is one of the first podcasts that we're actually showing this on.
Sweet.
It's happy to share this. So excited to share this with you. And I think you'll notice in about 15 minutes that you feel just switched on, dialed in, and completely present to the moment.
Yeah, and you have always been really cutting edge with your packaging. So I want to compliment you on this because I got this in my hand. This is a beautiful package. I know you've had some other products in past that the packaging was amazing, and this is beautiful. You said this was kind of a pain in the butt to create this package.
Oh, it was insane. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Because the lining inside has to be completely food grade.
So this is like basically a cardboard kind of is what it is. Like
it is. It's actually custom everything, and the inside of it has to make sure that it's like food grade, so it doesn't affect the product at all, and then still keep the integrity and freshness of the product. So I tend to have this habit of putting my life and soul into building and formulating a product, not just throwing it together like your typical pre-workouts or products like that, really spending the time on making something that's worthwhile. And then at the end of it, I'm like, I'm not just going to throw this in something basic. Like, I'm like, let's have fun with this. And at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is about, exploration. And I believe a lot of entrepreneurship is also about art as well, and about the message and branding you convey. And so when people see products like this, even if they don't know what's in it, they would assume that I actually care about the product itself.
Are you a wine drinker?
Oh yeah, I love wine.
But I don't know enough to be dangerous about wine. I know a little bit, but when I'm shopping, I'm just like, oh, that's a cool label. I like that one, And I mean, heck, this is one I'd probably pick up and be like, hey, this is cool, man. So is this recyclable? Because it feels like it's dang near close. Because I know that just the supplement industry has a huge plastic problem. Everybody does, but just so many products get put in those plastic tubs that just eventually get thrown away and never recycled.
Definitely. Yeah, this is completely sustainable, recyclable.
Wow.
So I think it's actually printed here on the packaging. Third party tested, fair trade, packaged in an eco-friendly, renewable container.
That's amazing, man. So are there other products out here like this in a package like this? Because I honestly don't know if I've ever seen like a powder in a cardboard package like this. Because this reminds me a little bit of like mud water, you know, that product, I'm sure,
Yep.
but that's in like a metal tin. And then obviously there's tons of teas that are in metal tins. And then there's so many supplements that are in plastic tins, but I don't know if I can think of anything that's in like a cardboard food grade container like this.
I can honestly say, and that's first off, that's a big compliment coming from you, because you are around pallets and pallets and hundreds of companies every day. And yes, there really is not anything like this anywhere in the world. So, you know, you can see on the product it's considered like a brain superfood, and the ingredients are unlike anything else that even exists out there. But on top of that, the packaging is unlike anything else too. So it's a really, really unique product. You know, we demoed it out at a recent event, and a lot of people were comparing it more to a microdose of shrooms. You know, so it's very different. It's not a psychedelic product, but it does have sort of a detoxification of the brain, which can help decalcify your pineal gland maybe a little bit.
Interesting.
I feel that the genre of this product is absolutely cutting edge, because it's not necessarily nootropic, and it doesn't fit in the mud water category quite like mud water, which is basically just mushrooms put together with some chai and a few other things. You know, this is something that performs, like really performs at the highest level. The official launch test was at Swiss Symposium. So these are the top medical doctors, researchers, coaches, athletes, world's strongest man type guys are there. Yeah, this is where we threw it in. We just jumped in the deep end. So let's sample this out there. And we had guys with 300 pounds take the product. They've taken all sorts of drugs, chemicals, who knows what they've done to their body. And, you know, took 2 scoops of CONSCIOUS1 and said, hey, I feel amazing. You know, I feel different, though, than what I've ever felt before. So it's definitely a new category originating product from a brain neurological standpoint, but also from a packaging standpoint, because like you said, we're not using a plastic container.
That's amazing, man. So you said you took almost 5 years to create this product. And as you stated, a lot of people in the supplement industry, you know, you and I both don't mean to speak negatively about folks, but you're right. What the typical system is I go to a manufacturer and I say, I want a pre-workout. And they go, okay, well, we'll make you something. Unless you're like, I want X and Y and Z. They're like, yeah, we'll make you something. And unfortunately, there's only about like 10 or 15 ingredients now that are like still in vogue in the pre-workout world. Like a lot of the stuff that used to, like you and I know, be in those pre-workouts, they've been banned. But then the manufacturer, they have stockpiles of your caffeine, your citrulline, your beta-alanine, so on and so forth. They have flavoring, and then boom, they batch you out a pre-workout. And then you're like, sweet, I kind of like it. Like, this is good. Let's run 1,000 of them. And those same manufacturers make, you know, all of the big supplement brands that are out there. That's kind of the current process for, I would say, most supplement brands. It sounds like you absolutely took no part in that. And you said, I'm going to start this thing totally from scratch. And you said it yourself, 5 years to kind of build this product out. So maybe just tell me about that process, where it began. I know it probably began way back because you've been in the nootropic space for a long time, but at least as far as this product goes, where did the impetus to create it come from?
So, yeah, a lot of companies, they, you know, my background was consulting as well. So I owned a nutrition store for 10 years, which we'll get to here shortly. So I've seen a lot of brands there, and then I moved into consulting and seeing a lot of products in the space there. And they're really just slapped together and thrown together, and either they rely on marketing to sell the product, or they rely on distribution chains or whatnot. And the problem is, it's just a Me Too industry. It's just boring. Yeah. Like the industry basically at this point just sucks. Yeah. I've lost so much respect, and I've, more importantly than the respect, I've lost a lot of interest in it, because it's all the same thing. And now, you know, the FDA is taking a lot of raw materials, the ingredients are going off the market, you can't sell them, which makes it even more boring in some cases, right? Yeah. So this product did start about 5 years ago, and I would say probably about 7 years ago, there was like an inkling in my mind that I wanted to make like a really, really great nootropic powder. I didn't know what that was then, so I actually trademarked the name The Picasso.
The Picasso, all right.
Yeah, and I completely owned that trademark in multiple classes. And at the time I had the Da Vinci, which I had launched, right? So I had this idea with the Da Vinci. It was one tablet product, You would take 1 tablet, maybe 2 tablets, and you're just done. And obviously, the packaging, we won 2 national awards for this thing. Like it was an amazing product. If anybody remembers the Da Vinci, it's amazing.
I did. I took it.
So now the problem I ran into with doing the Picasso is that I was going to make it creative nootropic, and that was the idea. So it was a very bright colored package, but my dream product is so difficult to flavor and so difficult to build. So I launched the Da Vinci. I'm like, I'm tired now. Like this packaging has been exhausting doing. Let's just get that to market. And then, about 5 years ago, it's about 4 years and 8 months ago, I had a insanely profound experience. And I know that people say, if you have epiphanies, people, I have an epiphany today on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. I had probably about a week, 2 weeks of my life. I don't know what happened, but like I kind of don't remember a lot of it. I was sort of getting like crazy downloads, what seemed to be from like a higher power. I had not, I sort of told myself that I was spiritual, but not really in sort of any organized religion during that time. Got through relationship breakups, going through a lot of changes in my life. And as I was going through changes, I felt a lot of attachments being released. So I was getting rid of old products, you're kind of detoxing from old friends and negative attachments, negative relationships at that time. And every day I was getting like crazy downloads. I just opened my laptop and type. I wrote 60 pages of a book, just like that, right? I designed this product, designed the formulation, the look, I started, the packaging. I wrote like a ton of content for it. And within that 2-week period, I also scripted beginning to end every single frame of 3 movies, 3 videos, I should say, right? Short videos.
Related to this product or just
all the same, basically like ecosystem, we'll say. Then I was shaking, like, when you have like, you just see, like you see some sort of like enlightenment. It's like, I can't quite, it's very difficult to explain verbally, right? But I was like, this is it. This is like my calling. And I called a few people. I called one of the guys who worked for me. This is, the Arnold's coming up at that time. And I said, I don't want to do the booth anymore. I'm done. If you want it, you can keep it. You can run it. It's fine. I don't care. And we had amino acids. We had ketone. We had all these different things. And I said, I'm done. I'm going to make this product called the Picasso. I've scripted all of the books, all the packaging, all the business cards, everything. I mean, I'm talking, it was like an entire ecosystem. Books, movies, like, and the whole thing's done. It just needs to be built. But I realize it's a very expensive, tedious thing. And I realize I can't tell anyone. I can't tell anyone anything. So
you feel that someone might take this idea, this formulation, this product, or you just think people aren't going to understand?
2 things. One is I felt that it would get stolen, yes. The second part is that they're not going to understand it. Like if I was to try and explain this to you, like over the phone, and it didn't exist, like now I'm showing it to you is different. I still don't understand it, So I kind of did a test with 1 or 2 people where I started explaining it, and they were like, I don't understand. And I was like, okay, I'm going about this the right way. So at this point, I was ready to sort of jump ship, leave everything behind, and this is now what we're going to do. This is not only, a massive thing for me. It's like a new business. It's like my calling. It's very me. It's like what I want to say. It's a platform. It's all of those. But it's something that I could do to like serve. Well, it not only didn't go that way, it went completely the opposite way. My life took a massive dive. So I continued making the products that I had at that time, and I went through a really, really rough period. I'm talking like, here's the download, it's done. And imagine like it's like a treasure. It's like you put like a treasure chest on a ship, and you went back just to grab like your shoes, and then the ship left with your treasure, and you left your phone and your food and your family and everything. Like everything's gone off on the ship. So I stood there for the next year, 2 years going through absolute hell. And I watched my ship sail away. And I went through a massive personal sabbatical. I don't know why this happened to me, but I went through bad relationship stuff, life questioning periods of times, a lot of highs and lows with business. Obviously, with COVID and supply chain issues, wrecked my business. And I really started questioning my life. Like, what's really going on here? Like, what am I really looking to do with my life? And, I'm thinking, I want to do this project. I want to do this tea. I have this tea idea. But I knew that I wasn't in a place to do it. I didn't have the capacity to. I knew I had the downloads. They're on my laptop, all coded and hidden and kind of, how that goes, right? But you don't, like, what's the capacity of this? What am I going to do with it? So I went through like a massive personal transformation. And I mean massive. I went through deep counseling. I did neurofeedback. I started doing EMDR. I started reliving through my childhood traumas, adolescent traumas, stuff I, did at parties for 15 years. And I went and I basically spent all of the money that was supposed to go on this on my personal development. And ended up with nothing. Like I literally spent all of it. Like thousands. I don't even want to know the exact number what I spent, but I just didn't feel right, So I was like, okay, it's me or this. I chose myself. And I thank you, Alex. I've never actually quite told this probably in this level of depth.
No, I appreciate that,
but
man.
I went through a period of just kind of wondering about my relationships, would I ever get married? Would I have kids? What's my relationship with God? Do I believe in God? And, the first few people, I kind of went through a few therapists and a few people just, you kind of stick your toe in it. And you're kind of like, no, I don't think I really need help.
Yeah.
But maybe I do, but you kind of don't want to admit it. So, you call like a therapist or somebody and you kind of like, hey, I'm asking this question for a friend. You're doing this type of thing because you're kind of dodging it.
You're vetting them sort of like, is this person kind of worth giving me advice?
Yeah. And I did a lot of like, hey, can I cover you for 1 hour? Can I just pay you for 1 hour? In fact, we even had a customer through Ultrahuman that reached out to us and said, hey, can I get a tracking number on my package? And the signature of it said that the guy was like an author of these books, like relationship coaching, stuff like that. So I said to him, hey, I'm going to send you some free product. Can I just have like half hour of your time? So all these people I started talking to said the same thing to me, which is really interesting. And no one knows each other, which is your story. You've gone so fast and lived such a crazy life. You actually haven't had time to quite process it. Right. And so I'm thinking, how the fuck these guys don't even know each other? How do they know? They're also, like verbatim the same thing, right? It's kind of eerie. I started realizing, like, I've traveled to different countries all around the U.S., thrown probably 300 plus parties, massive party, stayed up all night. I've probably dodged death probably 50 times now. Like, maybe there's something to this, But I'm kind of holding on to the idea that I have like this future biz. I'm going to make this work, So I started. And I started with doing very, very basic therapy. And then I added a little bit more, not to get too into like the self-help side of it. And when I started doing actually trauma therapy, like I trying to rewire my neural pathways, right? I would do a lot of deep hiking stuff. And I actually started collapsing. So, it was the weirdest thing. It got worse. I got actually worse to a point I was so low because you are like, things that have happened in your life, you are like reliving them.
Right.
So I distinctly remember like it was a Tuesday afternoon and I just remember like collapsing out like side of my inventory room. Like one of my staff members like helping me out. I was just bawling my eyes out for like no reason. I don't know why the fuck I'm crying. Like I'm a tough guy. Like I don't cry. Like I don't know what's going on. It's like I'm in deep shit and I feel like I can't escape it and I feel very attached and I feel like code red, your brain's kind of shutting off. And so this plot thickens a little bit further with really understanding that I was addicted. You become addicted and attached to everything from relationships, codependency, people pleasing, business, like my business, I'm in the business of hits. Like, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs like listen to the show. You're fucking addicted. You're addicted. Like, I actually went as far as getting a syringe, and I kept the syringe in my pocket, and I carried it around for 3 weeks because I wanted to remind myself that what I'm seeing isn't real. It's an addiction. You have business hits. Like, I was doing a lot of brokering, so I'm doing like deals.
Yeah.
During that time. I have like Ultra Human. Okay, that's cool. But like, I also have like deals that I'm doing. I'm buying and selling stuff. I'm hustling.
You're almost like a gambler.
You're just fucking like, you're just, and everything's a hit, man. Like, I'm like, oh, dude, there's 20,000 units of product. I can buy those. I can sell this. And it was a good business for me, but like, it becomes like exciting. Then I also am getting hits from doing events because I threw massive parties. And you gotta like, which we'll get to on the show today, but during throwing massive parties, like, I was the king of Saturday night. There's everything you could want. There's unlimited alcohol, unlimited access to anything you could want. Beautiful women everywhere, beautiful people. You got front row seats to WWE, front row seats to UFC, front row seats to Nationwide Arena, like anything you want. Like, I had like this. So, and then on top of that, you've got, a large array of people that like you and want to be you, and like, you got all this stuff going on. So, long story short, I talked to this one guy, and he says to me, you are doing the equivalent of like 4 barrels of heroin a day. Okay, which I'm not actually doing heroin, just so we're clear.
4 barrels sounds like a lot. I've never done it, but...
So it's like you are literally like, because you can't stop the hits. And the thing is like, validation is another thing. You get addicted to validation. People have addicted to validation. Like, that's the number one drug. Not cocaine, not caffeine, not fucking Adderall. Like, validation is the number one drug in the world, period. Right? That's how we get people hooked.
And so people don't look at that like, oh, it's like a bad thing. Like,
they don't.
I'm like you said, people pleasing. I've met tons of people who they're like, I'm a people pleaser. And it's like, yeah, because you're just seeking that validation, that quick validation from somebody.
Yeah, let's just say you get like an attractive goal. And you're like, okay, she's really attractive. You know what you should do? You should get on Instagram. You should start your platform because people will like you because you're attractive, right? Well, do we start people on heroin and say like, hey, you should start on heroin? Like, was there any sort of warning that comes with any of this? Like, nothing, right? No one told me when I throw parties. Like, I didn't have like a mentor. I just kind of figured it out. All of a sudden, I'm like the king of the world, I feel like. And there's so much that comes with this. Like, all of a sudden, you wake up 10, 15 years later, like your dopamine feedback loops are fucked. Your brain's gone. Your sense of reality is completely gone. Like, you have no idea what's going on. And you just constantly feel like a high, a low, a high, a low. So it was now, keep in mind, while all of this is going on, my ship is now like gone to the other fucking side of the world. Okay, like, it's not, like, there's no hope that I'm ever gonna.
You can't even see
do my. I can't even
spectacles.
see it. I'm sitting here thinking like, I just hope it comes back, and I'm feeling a really sense of loss that I'm like somewhere in here. I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to this. I'm gonna hold on to this thing, and I'm gonna hold on to the fact that I'm done with toxic relationships, and I'm going to have to detoxify from them, and I'm going to have to really heal. Like, legit fucking heal. And I'm going to keep collapsing until either A, I heal, or B, I die. This is the determination, okay? Like, I'm all in now. It's too late. I can't escape it. And so I started absolute ground up. I'm talking... Saturday night, I will never forget this. I was in my place, and a friend had come over, and she brought some dinner over. And those of you guys know me, I hate like washing dishes, so I typically use like disposable plates and stuff, right? He brought steak and stuff, so I was like, okay, I better get some like real dishware. And I remember like washing a dish, which is probably not a big deal to a lot of people listening to this, right? But I was washing this dish and just bawling my eyes out. And it was so low, and I could see bags of trash there. And I felt like I spent all my money. I was in the process of spending all my money on therapy. My business was in a weird place. Supply chain issue. I couldn't get anything made. My relationship situations were just tough, very, very toxic at that time. And I felt constantly spiritually attacked. And so that is an element that I had avoided, the spiritual attack. Something I had avoided because I don't want to believe. I believe sometimes that there's something spiritual element, but it's kind of like I don't have a way of grasping what is that then. I'd rather just say, hey, I took too many hits. We just talk about dopamine feedback, let me just move on. But like there's some sort of like something's chasing me, something in me would, and I noticed that I would feel like claws almost into me. And this would contribute to like me just collapsing. So I basically started at rock bottom, and it was 1 inch at a time, like one brick at a time, one day at a time. It would take me about 4 hours to get out of bed during this therapy time. This went on for a few months. It went on for, total for like a year and a half. But I think there was a window was really, really bad for maybe 3 or 4 months. And then the rest of it was kind of on the up and up. And, I think I could tail off of your original question.
Well, I was just going to say, so how do you like rebuild? Because it sounds like you were in a very low place. And now you're here insanely excited about this product, obviously. So what is that kind of bridge that got you from that low place to where you are now? We had a friend of ours on who was a former opium addict, and he talked about his path to get there. And I know it's a different situation, but he said that of all the people that he knew that never got out and him that did, I said, what's the difference? He said, I had a why. Like they didn't have a why, and he missed his little brother's birth. So he's like, I missed that. And he said he just couldn't believe that he missed that. And I like shook him, woke him up out of this like daze that he was in. And he was like, okay, I have a why. Like I got to get clean because I need to be here for my little brother. Like I'm not going to miss his life while doing, this stupid thing, throwing my life away. And I know him well. He's a super successful business owner now. He kind of traded his addictions. You talk about trading addictions, that's what he did. He just got addicted to sales and he just loves it, still loves it to this day. But he had that why. How do you drag yourself from that place to where you are now with this product? And by all accounts, a really healthy place.
There were 3 things that got me through. I never forgot about my ship. I never forgot. This was not something I designed. This is something that God, this whole ecosystem, what you're seeing right now is 2% of it, 3% of it. Like there's a whole other ecosystem behind this. I'm going to build it, right? It kept me knowing I have to do this. As cliche as that sounds, it was my first why. My second why, and these are in no particular order, by the way. My second why is I couldn't understand why I was still here. I don't know why God has kept me around. I should be completely fucking dead by now. Like the stuff that I was doing at parties was so insane. Pyrotechnic stunts, lighting parts of my body on fire, like fucking Tesla coils, lying on beds and nails. Like I was absolutely out of my mind. Okay, so I don't know why I'm still here then. And I had a couple really close calls with like car accidents. 50 times minimum. The third thing was my wife and kid. I was not married, did not have a kid. I believed my wife was out there somewhere. Here I am now, like getting older in life, being around tons of chicks my whole life. And if people thinking like, he's written off, he's going to be a bachelor forever. I'm like, no. A dream of mine, like one of my whys is I want to get married and have a baby. At least one baby. 2018 maybe, I had another experience where I don't know why. I just knew I was going to have a daughter. I had another download, so to speak, similar to this. But I knew I was going to have a daughter, and I knew her name was going to be Charlotte. And I actually bought a book. Actually, no, a friend of mine gave me a book called Charlotte. And I bought like a hat and glove. I bought like certain things for my daughter. This is back years ago. And I knew when I meet my wife, I was like, it's going to happen. I just know. And this is something that kept me going. And I actually eventually was at church, and I met my wife there, and I ended up having a daughter called Charlotte, and she's almost 6 months old. So it's crazy. It's crazy experience. But my 3 whys were truly that. Like I'm here to serve. Like I have to come through this. Like it's too much information and too much knowledge. It's selfish. It would be selfish of me to like not make it. That makes sense.
That's crazy, man. That's a wild story. And yeah, I've seen some of the videos of your nightlife, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but I actually started an entertainment business when I was in college. That was my first company.
Dude, I did not know that.
You're the third person, you, me, and then John from Hydrant, actually, he started an entertainment business when he was at Oxford, of all places.
Oh, wow.
That didn't end up working out. But it's funny because like that nightlife industry sort of like breeds entrepreneurship at some capacity. There's another really famous podcaster that started in the nightlife industry, Chris Williamson.
Oh yeah,
yeah, love his stuff. So man, that's an amazing story to be where you are right now, Steve. Would you mind getting me like a little more water? I'm gonna finish it out, man. I'm gonna take the second full dose, dude. I'm gonna go for it. Yeah, man, I'm starting to feel really good on this. So, tell us, kind of the main hits out of this product, the Conscious One.
So, it's referring to like ingredients.
Yeah.
Let's say. So we use.
I'm a nerd, so I mean, I'm into this. People are always like, I'm taking this product and it's making me feel really good, and I'm like, what's in it? They're like, I don't know. And I'm like, just give me the label. Let me see what's in it,
So I, that sounds like a fucking crazy story. This is a crazy story. A friend of mine comes over.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you, brother.
A friend of mine comes over and leaves the book, The Alchemist.
I was just about to say something. Dude, I have it. Look at this, dude. I have this written down in my notes right there.
That is crazy.
Thing.
See how crazy? It's so crazy.
So the story that I was going to tell is from the book, The Alchemist. And sorry to interrupt you there, but you were talking about your why kind of kept you going, that dream, that building this product. And I was thinking about the merchant in the book, The Alchemist, and he wanted to go to Mecca. And he said he wanted to go since he was a young kid. And the boy says, well, why don't you go? He says, well, I don't have enough money. And so they work together, and then he eventually, has enough money. He goes, now you should go to Mecca. You have the money. He's like, no, I don't want to actually like achieve my dream. I want to have that out there as something in the future to keep me living, like keep my hope going that someday I'll go to Mecca. He's like, I'm afraid that if I actually achieve my dreams, then on the other side of that, I won't have a reason to live. And I was like, whoa, that's a powerful story. And I don't know if people consciously think about things like that, but I do wonder sometimes like what stops people from going after their dreams. And for you, it sounds fortunate that you weren't like, I'll just leave that thing out there as something I'll do in the future. Because that's what people do, right? I'll do it next year. I'll get fit next year. I'll start that business next year. And then 10 years go by, 15 years go by, 20 years go by. And then you're like, maybe I'm just too old to start that business.
That's what happens sometimes, yeah. 2 or 3 things related to The Alchemist. We'll definitely come back to the ingredients in that. So, a lot of things going full circle and a lot of things having hope. I want to address the movie Castaway.
Good film.
I always liked Castaway, and I was like, Castaway's a good movie. It's kind of just something you watch, whatever. I like outdoorsy stuff. It's just an interesting kind of movie. But it was never like... It never really hit me. That movie never really hit me until recently. My wife and I watching, one of those things like 10 Things You Don't Know About Castaway or whatever. Like it was like an alternative view on the movie.
Interesting.
And the view on the movie is that Tom Hanks' wife doesn't really love him. Like Tom Hanks' wife in the movie is like not. I think she's like maybe with some of the guys. She doesn't really care. She sort of like gave up hope maybe, but. It's the fact that he loved his wife and he believed this, that he made it back. So this woman that's already moved on with somebody else, while he's out there trying to get back to his wife, is the reason she actually saved his life. And it's an interesting perspective. Another story I'd like to share, and I do not have the statistics on this. I'm sure I can find them. I've saved them somewhere in my notes. But there was a study done where they took rats, or mice maybe, and they had them swim. And they would swim for maybe a minute, and then they would drown. Then what happened is they had them swim, and right before they drowned, somebody came and saved them. They put them back in, and they said, okay, now that we've saved them one time, how long can they swim for? And I believe it was 60 times as long.
Yeah, it was like a 2 days almost.
It was insane because they've been saved one time. So
they believed that a savior was coming.
Correct. So hope is the most destructive thing, because sometimes we hope things are going to change and they don't. But the other side of it is like, I like the word less than hope. I like the word like this purpose, this sort of like why, as you would say, Alex. Like what is that why that's going to pull you in and keep you going? No, I think it's so important. And people that don't have a strong enough why, I mean, why are you here? Like,
yeah. Two stories to kind of piggyback off your Castaway idea. There's a book called A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor. And I mean, unbelievable book, what this guy went through. But he had a wife at the time. I believe it was a wife. And they got separated like on day one. And I believe in reality, she ended up dying like a month into her captivity, but he made it like 3 years, and he just continued to believe like, I'm going to reunite with her. And he said he would have conversations with her like while he was out working without shoes and like the freezing cold. He's like, I would just keep talking to her and saying, we're going to be together again. And eventually he does make it and finds out that she'd passed away. But he said, I was just so grateful that she was like there with me, and that my belief in her going to be there on the other side kept me going. I had a why.
Definitely.
And another story about similar, I know these are both kind of sad, but another book called The Forgotten Highlander. It was a Scotsman in World War II who was captured in the South Pacific. And he kept this girl that he knew in his town in mind, that he like didn't even have a relationship with. He just like kind of liked her. And he was a prisoner for 6 years, like in the South Pacific jungle. And he had all these terrible complications happen and just horrific conditions. And then he eventually got back, and she didn't even know that he like had this like romantic interest in her. And she was married, and he was like, no, that totally makes sense. Like, I'm not even upset. That's what kept me going. He's like, it didn't need to be real. It just needed to be real in my mind to keep me pressing on. Just that power of hope, man, just keeping people going.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those. Those are amazing stories, and very, very relevant and very true. Like, you see them over and over again. Think about how many stories we don't know about too that exist out there. And I think too, I don't think people understand visualization at all. I think people understand like affirmations, visualization, this manifestation. Like, I think that people have it all fucked up wrong. Like, and I think that the people visualize something on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 2, maybe a 3, and they think it's going to happen. I think it has to be such like part of your DNA, like a very, very deep. And the other thing too is like, swallowing your ego on how something's going to look. Why is something might happen to you, and you really have absolutely no idea. In fact, I was driving somewhere earlier today, and I just took the wrong way by accident. And I called my wife. I'm like, hey, can you just GPS for me? I was on the phone with her, actually. I was like, hey, can you GPS this for me? She's like, yeah, just go left here, go there. And this is a drive that I do all the time. And I'm not kidding. It shaved probably 5 minutes off. And now I'm like, man, we've been going the wrong way the whole time. So sometimes when you're going the wrong way, you're actually going the right way. You just don't know. I didn't tell anybody about this. And I used to call it the project, because I didn't want to say it was a product, just like the Picasso. It was the project, right? Because there's all of these ecosystems, and there's a charitable contribution called the Waterfall Project. That's what you'll see on the side of this. And there's all of these elements to it. And so I used to the project. And after 4 years, I one day sat there and I was like, oh my God. Now I call it Conscious One. Maybe the project, this isn't the project. Maybe the project was me. And like, I was the project the whole time. Because I keep saying the product's me. Like, I sound like a fucking crazy person, right? Then I'm like, man, maybe I'm the project. And I became really like reborn again. So you never know, like, and obviously the ship sailed back, and now I'm living my dream. It's crazy, but it's, I could have not done this with the old me. I could have not done it. I am completely reborn, different human being. Like my DNA is different. And I know people, it's so hard to change. And I'm looking at people that go through really like hardships and stuff like that. Maybe Alex is a little bit trailing off, but I was listening to, who was I listening to the other day? I was listening to Ty Lopez, actually, who's made this crazy comeback, right? And Ty Lopez, I never really like was a huge fan per se. It was always kind of like, the garage of my car, whatever. But more recently, I found his stuff really good. And he's taken a sabbatical too. I think he was off for like maybe 3 years. And somebody asked him a question saying, hey, do you think people can change when they get older? Can they still make like differences in their life? He said, well, it's a lot easier when you're obviously younger, but once you hit like 20, 30, 40, 50, like it just gets really, really hard. You can change, but it's going to be traumatic. Like you're going to have to go through something really, really, really traumatic to change and then actually make that. And so I think that some of these people too, if we go back to like the Castaway example, I think by the time he got back, even if his wife had left him, he really had started a whole new life. And at that point, the skill sets that he had and who he was so regenerated to a point where like his entire trajectory of his life now is going to go a completely different direction. And maybe his next wife, and he starts his path. So we're so afraid of these changes, but like I can't imagine not having them. Like I can't imagine now not being with my wife and kid. I can't imagine not having this. The old me I look at, brilliant guy, great guy, but that would have never worked. Like sometimes my friend Jack Owak, from Bang, always says, if you're not new, you're old. And that's his sort of philosophy with his business. But I think it's very much that with our personal lives too.
Yeah, I think so many people, I've said this, kind of example before on the podcast, but if you're climbing a mountain and you get 2/3 of the way up, you feel good about yourself, but you see that you can't get to the top on the current route that you're on. So you have to go back down. That's kind of your story, right? Like you got 2/3 of the way up and you're like, hey, I can't get the remaining 1/3 of the way there unless I go back down to the ground and I pick a new route because, the current route that I'm on, it does not lead me to where I want to go.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's I think my uncle was telling me a story about putting some kids thing together one time, and he spent hours and hours and hours on putting the whole thing together. But the first piece he clicked wrong. And so he had to undo the entire infrastructure of everything just to get to that one initial nucleus piece. And that's what it takes. I think you have to make a decision on, are you okay with that? One of the hardest things that happens, I have a lot of friends in this space, friends that you even know as well, mutual friends, that they've just hit a very, very high level of success. Maybe not where they want to go. And like you said, they've had to pretty much start over again. It's heartbreaking. It's so hard. I've had to do it now a few times. I had a store, 10 years, crushed it in the store, sold the store. I literally had a nervous breakdown after that. I didn't think it was going to affect me that much. But I had to like start all over again. Parties, I had to leave them. I knew. I was at the peak. I don't even think I peaked out throwing events yet. And I made the decision. I was like, where is this going? Like now, what am I going to do? I can keep throwing parties. They're just going to get big. My next step with parties was basically, am I going to go to the Shot or Nationwide? Like that's the decision I was at because I was packing Bluestone in like 45 minutes, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people very quickly. And, but I had to leave because again, most people, they stay at that 2/3 and they just say, this is good enough. And then they just live with regret. Some of them go down to the bottom and start up. Some of them go to the bottom and they never get back up.
Yeah. They go, that first 2/3 was hard enough, man. I'm tired.
Yeah. Life is pain and suffering, man.
Yeah.
It is, but it's gifting. That's how we evolve and grow. And that's how we serve.
Yeah. A quote that we talked about this individual before we started the podcast, but Alex Hormozy, he talked about, he built this chain of gyms, like, I don't know, 6 gyms or something like that. And he sold it for, an amount of money that he thought at that time was like an enormous sum, a couple $100,000 maybe. And then he said that he took all that money and invested it in a new venture with a person that he had met. And instantly that person stole all his money. It's like gone. And he's like, I've been working on building those gyms for like 5, 6, 7 years. And everything that I did over that 7-year period was just instantly gone. And he's like, so what was the point of all those, years that I did that? And quote that he says is, the work works on you more than you work on it, which to me means, you took those 7 years and you were working, and yes, you got an end product, this 200 grand, but the real end product is you. Like, you have like worked yourself over these 7 years. Like, the work is working on you, not necessarily the other way around, where you're building this perfect end product, this gold medal that you get at the end that lasts for forever. It's like, no, wherever you go, there you are. So he took himself and he said, hey, I'm the product. I am what came out of those 7 years. I learned all these skills to make those couple $100,000. I can go out, I can do it again. And sure enough, that's what he's done. He wants to be richer than Warren Buffett. That's his goal. It's an audacious goal, but hey, man, those are good footsteps to follow in.
Yeah, definitely a fan of Alex Hormozi's work, and he's communicating in a way, and he's got a lot of life experience, which I think is really great. A lot of people talk about business and entrepreneurship, and I'm like, but what have you really done? Like, and if you really haven't taken the hits, and you're like, well, I started a business, I scaled it. Like, you're really not an entrepreneur. Like, you have to have taken those hits and learned those lessons, and they're gifts. And I really think sometimes gifts. I've taken a couple of really, really bad hits. You woke up and you're like, it's over. It's done. I'm done. I'm homeless, right? Like, that's how your mentality goes. But of those, you learn a skill set, and that's what that skill set cost you. And most of the time, it's priceless. So if you took a hit for 100 grand and you wake up, man, the world's over. The 100 grand hit might teach you a lesson where you can generate, 500 grand now. And I think the real essence of an entrepreneur is learning how to survive and then learning how to thrive, and I talk about this a lot. Like, I think people have secure jobs. So they look at me, they look at you, they look at a lot of guys, and they're like, they have a business. You could be out of business tomorrow. But we work at this business. We work at Cardinal Health. We work at like Nationwide. We work at like, PNC Bank. Like, we have like this consistent job where it's like safe and secure, and we're going to keep making money from whatever. Dude, AI can come in and just wipe you out. Like, what the fuck do you have?
Or your manager.
Or anything, right?
Yeah.
The risk you take with business. So they say, well, we're comparing apples to apples here because, like, well, Alex or Jason, you guys could wake up tomorrow and you could just lose everything. You could lose everything over one lawsuit. Well, I work a job, well, I could lose everything. But at least I have a resume and a job and severance and all this stuff. So I actually have the job security. And here's what I say. But you don't know how to generate anything. Guys that have done it for a long time, they can lose everything and they can make it back.
Right.
They can sell. They can market. They understand that stuff. So, during periods of times where we had supply chain issues, I was able to still generate money from products, still able to do deals, still able to make it happen and keep my business moving. And I think that that's a skill set that you have to learn. And you usually learn it from being humbled by taking a badass hit.
Yeah, an entrepreneur that I really love, Naval Ravikant, he says, you want to become the person that becomes rich in, if you've lived 100 lives, you want to become the type of person that becomes rich in 99 of them. It's like essentially you're taking luck out of the equation, where if I have these skills, I know the end result will become success. Mm-hmm. I can just apply them. And whether I apply them into the field of AI, or I apply them into sports nutrition, or I apply them into e-commerce, you're applying the skill set that works. And it's not just, I got lucky, I found the right industry. You become the type of person who can create wealth.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly said by Naval and by you.
We can't say it better than him, right?
No, he's amazing. He really is. And I think that the one thing that we don't value the most in life is, besides like valuing other people that are important to us until they're gone, I think the one thing we don't value enough is like who we become. And like, it's so priceless who we become. Like, you have to become, this, Gandhi quote, like, be the change you want to see in the world. I think, like, who do you become out of the loss? Who do you become out of the wins? And that determines like a lot of how you live your life. You could look at life and say, well, the end destination for everybody's death. So it really is about the journey, because that's all that matters. I see people with fast cars and money and everything else, and they're most depressed. I see people who have nothing and they're happy. I know that, again, that's cliche as well. But I don't see why you can't have both. And I think the difference between, I've been around very, very, very wealthy people. I've been around very, very broke people. And I find one consistency across the board with just humankind. People that understand themselves, understand the world, and that have got to a place of like becoming. Like they are living a very fruitful life. And they don't need. I love them. If you like material, hey, I want to go buy a land, but like nothing wrong with that. Like I don't have a problem with like the money side of it. This is not a money question. It's not a money discussion. Everybody talks about this like it's all about money. I'm talking about everything. It's like fruitful. Like if you have kids, like this guy's got 2 kids, his kids don't want to talk to him. This guy's got 2 kids and he has a great relationship with his kids. Like these things are becoming a father, becoming a child.
There's this story that I love about J. Paul Getty. He was the richest man in the world. I think like maybe in the like 70s, somewhere in that radius. Steve could probably fact check me on that. But he's doing this interview in this beautiful house, you know, like a castle, basically, is what it is. And he's at this, 100-foot long table in this dining room. And the interviewer asks him, a lot of people envy you. Who do you envy, people? Or who do you envy? And he kind of looks down and he goes, I envy anyone who's happier than I am. And it's just kind of this like realization that maybe becoming the richest person in the world wasn't like all that it was cracked up to be, because that's just one metric, right? So there's kind of these hidden metrics and revealed metrics. And everyone plays the money game because it's a revealed metric. Like we have numbers to support it. Like one of us two is richer, right? That there's like a number associated with it, right? But if you say, well, who's happier? It's like, well, I don't know how we quantify that. Like who's funnier? It's like, well, how do we quantify that? So people go after these metrics that are like revealed in concrete, because we don't necessarily have like the wherewithal to think about like, well, what's your peace of mind score? Like who's calmer, you or me? J. Paul Getty he died in 1976, billionaire, richest man in the world at the time of his death. So Getty Oil Company, 200 other companies. Good for him, I mean, yeah, that picture of him looks pretty debonair over there. But yeah, like you can't quantify like how happy is J. Paul Getty? Like, well, what is his happiness score? Like, is it out of 100? Is it out of 1,000? Is it out of 10? Are you a 10, but he's a 5? Like, well, who's more important? Who has a better life? So people tend to go after these metrics that we can quantify, whereas these unquantifiable metrics, people kind of just like put by the wayside and go, well, that's not as important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a, I appreciate all that, Alex. Very, very good. I did not know about him.
I don't know a ton about him.
Naval Ravikant had another quote saying, if you want to know the quality of your life, sit in silence for a period of time. And I think and just kind of be with your own thoughts and see how you feel. And I think that's a really, really true statement, is like, looking at, how much you're escaping sometimes. Like, it's just the reality, like facing that truth of like where you're really at and are you really happy? And yeah, sometimes you can have all of these things and you're just miserable. I mean, because I think there's so many aspects. I don't even know if it's just happiness too. I think it's also like, I think happiness is maybe the umbrella word for everything. But think about things like health.
Like, what does that mean? To be happy?
Yeah, what does that mean? And your health is so important. I mean, I know so many people have everything, and they're like, I know actually a really wealthy guy that passed away recently, and he it was right before he passed away. So he built 9-figure. He's worth maybe 300 or 400 mil, somewhere around there. He, as you know, you don't have anything without your health.
Yeah.
Can't think how many times I've heard that. We don't think about that. We just keep carrying on like we're indestructible, and we're just not.
Yeah, there was kind of a funny interchange that happened this week where Tom Brady and C.J. Stroud were talking to each other. Did you see this?
I did not. No.
So if you're a football fan, I'm sure everybody at least kind of knows who Tom Brady is. Probably the best football player of all time, the greatest of all time. he and CJ were going back and forth about the Ohio State-Michigan game. So Tom Brady says to CJ, if Ohio State wins, I'll give you one of my Super Bowl rings. But if Michigan wins, you have to give me your age, your athleticism, your arm strength, your speed, and the remaining years on your career.
Wow.
So it's like, obviously that's not possible, but Tom Brady would give anything, I'm sure, to have that back. He'd give all his money back. He'd give everything to just have the clock roll back 15 years so that he could keep doing what he loved again. And it's to that point, like, if you're going to spend money on something that's important, like, spend money on your health. You know what I mean? Like, because you can't replace 10 more years of life with a faster car or a cooler car or a better house. Like, think about the important.
Yeah. I think I think two things that are just not, they're just not on the radar right now. And I hope people listen to your show that would take these two things and just write them down. And the first one is really like trajectory, and the second one's priority. And I think like people do not prioritize shit. And people don't understand trajectories of life. My wife's listening to this. She's probably like rolling her eyes at how many times I use the word trajectory on a daily basis. But, number one, what do you really fucking need to do today? Like, what are you trying to do here? And are you actually taking a step towards it? What is this priority? Like, there's a guy called Dan Pena. Some people love or hate the guy. I personally like the guy. He's fucking out of his mind, but he's so aggressive. And he's like, wake up, go about your day, and write down, start in the morning, write down, like, what are you trying to achieve in your life? And then at the end of the day, on the other side of the paper, like, write down every single thing you did and compare what you did today. Does any of it have to do with what you're trying to achieve? And not even 5 minutes will be that way. And it's very true. Like, if you are trying to get in a relationship, are you actually trying to get in a relationship, or are you just wasting time going around in circles? Like, are you going out meeting people? Are you working on yourself? Are you trying to be in the right space for that? If you are trying to get in shape, like, your entire life has to be, I am actually doing this, like, not talking about it, not fucking reading about it, or wasting time going around. So like there's the steps to it. And what is the priority of this? Like, you have to look at, one thing I started doing, and it just has been like, it's really just taken my game up a huge notch, is looking at, okay, here's 10 things I got to do. Making myself eliminate 8, 9, and saying, okay, I'm going to do one thing. I have talked to entrepreneur friends of mine, and there's sort of like, you see this big hustle culture and multitasking culture. And so many of my business friends, it's almost like they have like a distaste. Like, it's considered boring. It's too boring. It's not, I'm too ADHD. I want to do this. I'm doing that. I got to deal here. I got to deal that. I got to do this. I'm building this, blow this shit up, blah, blah, blah. Like, but you're not really getting anywhere. And I was like, what if by the end of this month you could achieve 30 things? Like, you would really be moving the needle. 365 big achievements in a year is like a fucking like leap, like in space, right? But we don't look at it that way. Society doesn't praise this anymore. They don't praise this methodical one thing at a time. And so people have gotten so, their brains have just gone convoluted, distracted. I highly recommend if anybody's listening to this, they haven't read the book, The One Thing. It's unbelievable. You've got to read this book. The guy has actually broken down, I forget his name now who wrote it, but he broke down how multitasking is bullshit and about how you've really got to get to what is the one thing you have to do right now. Like, what is your next best step, and what's the one thing that would change your life? Most of the time, it is running into the fire. It's the thing you fear the most, right? Yeah. So people then will intentionally, subconsciously, I should say, maybe more than intentional, like, are adding 5-10 more things.
Fluff. You're adding fluff.
It's just all bullshit, dude. Now let me move to the second point, which is trajectory, which is like, where is this going? And like taking an honest assessment, like, I have been at this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like, is it really getting anywhere or not? If I keep doing this, where am I going to end up? So if you're listening to this right now, and you're 35 years old, here's what might say. You're not 35, you're 40. No, but I'm not 40 yet. That's in 5 years. But you are 40. You have to think like you are headed to 40. Wayne Gretzky skates where the puck is going, not to where the puck is, right? And the speed that you are going to 40, you are 40. And you have to have that mentality because life goes too fast.
I love that.
So it takes a long time to build a business. To legitimately build a real business with a real infrastructure, with real customers, it takes a long time. And
3 times as long as you expect it.
Yes, 3 times.
At least 3.
At the very least, yes. In some cases, maybe 5.
I thought I would be out of this business by now, and I'm on year 9. So.
Yeah, people don't understand. But what's the big deal? Like, if you're 25 years old, I got to be a millionaire by 27. What if it took you till 35? Dude, you retired. You're worth $10 million at the age of 35. You have fucking killed it.
Well, not to mention, what are you going to do for the next 60 years?
What are you going to do?
Sit on the beach and drink margaritas?
Yeah.
That's going to be fun for 2 weeks.
Exactly. So the trajectory is I think people, mistakes, we're talking about life stuff here for a second, but I think really settling into a business and saying I'm going to do this the right way. Like you are the best example. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but you are such a prime example. Listeners, I actually said this to Alex before this started getting recorded today, about how much I have such massive respect for how he's built this business and how it's just been one shipment at a time, one sale at a time, and just he stayed in his lane. He's built. If you guys have not seen Mixed, it's incredible. It's an incredible facility, incredible operation. He just does such an amazing job. So, and like you and my friend Coyote Peterson's another good example. He's 20+ million subscribers. Him and Mark Vins, and they've done such an amazing job of building this. But it's gone on for over a decade. It's gone a long time. So as long as you are working on that thing diligently, you will get there. And I think that we tend to be so distracted, and then all of a sudden we're we don't have kids, and we're now 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. We don't have money. We don't have anything. We don't have we're still trying to figure out what the next deal is. I know a lot of people that are doing deals that are in their 50s and 60s. Come on, man, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't want to be that person. So you have to cut the trajectory now.
Yeah, a couple of things. A phrase that I really love that I heard recently, and I've started to say just more and more often, is that the fast way is the slow way.
Yes.
So it's just because so many people probably you and I have interacted with, they're trying to do 3 or 4 different businesses at the same time. And it's just so hard because you're thinking, yeah, well, this business is going to get me rich in 2 years. And it's hey, if you just picked one and stuck with it for 10 years, it probably would work. Even if you're mediocre at it, but if you're mediocre for 10 years, you're probably going to be in a pretty dang good spot with it.
Yeah.
As in terms of prioritizing or priority, this is something that me and one of my real good friends have talked about. He had a childhood friend that sort of stopped being in his life, and it was really, really bumming him out. And he's I just don't get it how he can just not be in my life. I just know he's not that busy. And I was no, he's not that busy. He's just not prioritizing this. So we've kind of just taken that idea and just stretched it out. So now I really try my hardest to not say oh, I'm busy. Well, you're too busy for what? Are you too busy to sleep? Because you're going to sleep tonight. Are you too busy to eat? You're going to eat today. Are you too busy to respond to your emails? Because you respond to your emails. No, you're not too busy. You're just not prioritizing this thing. And that's okay to admit that this is low on your list of priorities. But just don't lie to me and tell me you're too busy to work on it, because you're not. If I had $1 million check at my house waiting for you with your name on it, you're not too busy to come pick that up. You're just not prioritizing that particular thing. So the way you talk about priorities, that just hits home. You prioritize that most important thing, and that's how you push your business forward. And
definitely
3 questions that I kind of have formulated here that I kind of ask myself, but I want to start asking entrepreneurs is, what do you do in your business? What should you be doing? And what does your team wish that you were doing? Because I think those will kind of get to, it's almost like self-reflection. And I'd be interested to hear you kind of answer those 3 questions. What do you do at your company? What should you be doing? and what does your team want you to be doing? Like, because the answers there are probably not going to be the same, right? None of those questions will probably be the same thing.
Definitely. So, I just want to reiterate on the prioritization thing, and we'll get to these questions too. You said it perfectly. I think that people, if you really, really want something, you will do whatever it takes. It's so hard. Everybody says it's so easy now. It's never been easier to make money. It's never been easy to build a business. I don't agree with that.
I think it's probably the hardest that it's ever been. I mean,
the distractions are fucking out of control.
Competition, man.
Yes.
I mean, I saw a post yesterday, and this is like off topic, but it was like a girl who like just like reads things that people want her to read, just like obscure, ridiculous things like cow go moo moo, and she makes like $5,000 a day. This person was like, if you don't make $5,000 a day, this person is outperforming you. And I was like, geez, but there's just so much competition, so many people who want to sell supplements.
Yes.
They want to do e-commerce. They want to do FBA. They want to do all these different things. It's really difficult. And if you're not willing to dedicate a significant period of time and significant amount of effort, it's just like somebody else will.
It's a lot. It's so hard. You really got to be committed. I think like the commitment to cut out distractions and pinpoint what is my next best move every single day and do it consistently and show up every day and be at a really high level is so important. And I see a lot of people that say, I want this and I want that. And I can gauge pretty fast whether they really want it or not based upon what they're doing now. If somebody's trying to lose weight, like you're like, I've had enough. You almost need to snap at the waitress. I'm not saying snap at the waitress. I'm saying you almost need to. No, get that French fry the fuck away from me now. It has to be like this. If you are not allergic, like deathly allergic to a distraction, to get my phone away from me, shut the Instagram app off. Like if you are not like this, I don't think you'll do it. It has to be the why and the intent and the priority has to be so great that you will spend whatever money it takes, you will do whatever it takes to make that happen. And that's the only point where I think people really move the needle. I think people don't have a good gauge on what it really takes to move the needle. They think they're just going to do a few posts and then all of a sudden it's just going to blow up.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm just magically going to meet this person. In some cases you do, in some cases you don't. I dated for 20 years before I met my wife. I'm actually my wife's first boyfriend. She never gone on a date. Like that's quick. So you know what? I tell everybody, you could be her, you could be me. I don't know. Like you have to be willing to go the distance. But I know I came off of topic a little bit. So the 3 questions, we'll go one at a time.
What do you do in your business? Like your active job?
We serve people.
I mean, personally.
I personally run the entire business right now. So I am the janitor. I am the CEO. I am the doer of all things. I've had lots of highs and lows with the business. So I've had times where I've had more employees. I've had times where I've done less. I do everything from formulate the product to design it, to package it, to figuring out the scaling and how we're going to market the product. And then I write a lot of the content right now. And then I also manage a lot of our accounts, store accounts, gyms, training facilities, stuff like that. And then I'm also going back into doing now things COVID's died down. I'm going back to doing seminars and talks and workshops and this type of stuff. So I'm really running 90% of the company right now, and slowly we'll be adding more employees back in for specific roles.
What should you be doing?
I actually think I'm right where I need to be right now. I think I'm right where I need to be right now. And I think it's probably it's the best place I've been in the last 5 years of this business.
And I know you said you have a relatively small team. What does your team want you to do?
They want me to go faster.
Faster. Interesting.
They want me to go faster.
Normally it's the other way around, like where boss wants the team to go faster.
No.
Not the other way around.
Yeah, it's completely the opposite. Everybody wants me to go their way, and their way, I'm adamant it's not going to fucking work. It doesn't work. If it works, then why isn't everybody... Like, people want to go too fast and it breaks. Okay, I launched a brand of product in 2011 and I was out of business in 2012. And what happened is I grew it so fast that I imploded. I went into 3 distributorships, went into 3 different countries, and then I went into all the 440 vitamin shops overnight. By the 3rd pitch I saw it, I was out of stock, and it was too complex to make, and I couldn't make anymore. Gone.
Wow.
My company, Ultrahuman now, we have faced extinction daily. But we really have, in the macro picture, there were probably 3 times we ran out of inventory. So I had month 1, month 2, month 3, and then I was like, oh, let's push the gas pedal. Guess what? Pushed the gas pedal, started opening up more accounts, ran out of stock, started losing accounts. I couldn't make it fast enough. So I started again. Then what happens, Alex, I get like trigger happy and I start getting fucking crazy. You know what, man? This feels pretty good. See, you get that hit, right? It's a business hit. And I come from throwing parties where I'm like, fuck it, let's blow everything up. I got the pyrotechnics. I'm working with Britney Spears. I'm doing Mario Lopez. We're doing all this, and it's like more. The Jason Deere way of throwing parties was the bigger the better, max it out, just break shit, just full on destruction. That doesn't work in this space, right? So now I had another time. The second time happened. I scaled and it broke. And the third time happened again. And then it took me 3 times to learn this. And I said, okay, we're just going to stop. We're going to stop everything. We've got too many different products. This is another thing my team would want me to do is make more products. And I'm going the opposite way. Because making too many products is the first sure sign that you are codependent. Okay? It is actually an unhealthy mentality when you have too many products because you're people pleasing. So we have, single tab towels. We did a brand of CBDs, pet CBDs, and then we don't want to lose these accounts. So we're going to hurry up and keep making it just to please them. And we're never going to make what we really need to make. So we have the smallest arsenal of products in the last 4 years. We have 3 products. That's it. Nothing else. And how we are growing is growing so methodical. At this time we are sitting here, CONSCIOUS1 is not even on our website. So this product is being available now, and it's not even, you can't even buy it anywhere. And we've sold already, maybe I think we're at 25 or 30% of our inventory with nothing online, no e-blasts. We have no Instagram. We have no Facebook. Why would I post? So the team is like, let's go, let's post, man. Let's post this on the beach. I'm like, no, we're not fucking doing this stupid shit.
Not to mention how many supplement companies, I mean, this could be any industry, you start with a pre-workout, it starts to sell. So then we launch a pump and then it starts to sell. And then we launch an amino and then we launch a protein and then we launch a greens and then we launch a creatine. And then before you know it, you have 40 products. And then they're like, we need to get rid of some of these products, and then they start to do this thing again, it just expands out and expands back in. That happens so often.
It's so unhealthy, dude. And I don't understand, again, it just goes back to so many different streams and so much different stuff. I mean, if you're a company like Garden of Life, I get that. You're just a huge mega brand. Optimum Nutrition, I understand. But these guys, they have it down to a science. Optimum Nutrition, Garden of Life, Frito-Lay, companies like that, Coke, Pepsi, they're going to really test it. They don't want to take losses on this stuff, and it's the same thing here. I think we get these small companies, we just get cocky. I think people in business are just way too cocky. I've been there. I've had my arrogant phase, and you got to just chill the fuck out. Just go methodical and slow, keep it really, really simple, and that's how you will succeed. If I may share one story with you, I learned this lesson at a very, very young age. My parents used to own a restaurant. So one of my first jobs was actually in a restaurant.
Was this back in Edinburgh?
No, this is actually here in the U.S.
Here in the States.
So my parents own a restaurant. And so my parents started this restaurant, and it was almost like it was ethnic type food, but it was Chipotle before Chipotle.
I said Edinburgh, Coventry though.
Coventry, England. Yes,
correct me. Man.
Coventry.
Classic American. I don't know my Edinburgh from Coventry.
Nobody in Coventry or Edinburgh knows the difference between Columbus and California.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter. So they started this restaurant, and they had 6 items on the menu, and they had some breads and things. So maybe the total different, including the drinks, it was 12 or 15 items. Very, very simple, exactly like you would see a Chipotle menu. But my parents are very, very kind, loving, old-fashioned, British. like loving, hug everybody type people.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody requests something else, so they change the menu, they add another product, and then they add another one, and another one, another one. What do you think they ended up with the menu choices of food? Now, the menu choices of food, I believe, was 6 or 7 different meals. Where do you think this ended up by year 2? It ended up over 50. It didn't go from 6 or 7 to like 12. It went to 50. It's like an 8x, 9x.
Yeah.
The stress level trying to manage all of these different foods for these different people, it killed them. And, a recent thing came out about Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A has like 30 or 40% less. Maybe, I don't know statistically, so please forgive me. I don't have anything I can say on this, but I think they have like drastically less, I'll say, ingredient choices than everybody else. So business has become less scalable, I think, when you go that much. And I think that we don't look at the burnout on our team, on ourselves, and all of the additional facets that we have to consider. Shipping boxes, packing, weights, shelf space, manufacturing, like all of this stuff. It's too much. It's too much to manage. I think it's a big fall with too many companies.
Yeah, I mean, the classic saying is that the customer is always right. But do you know what Henry Ford said about this?
What's up?
He said if I asked my customers what they want, they would have said faster horses.
Yeah.
So it's like the customer doesn't always know what they want or need. Sometimes as the business owner, you can kind of steer that for them. Because like you just said, Chick-fil-A, great product, but they're not trying to also have tacos. They're not trying to also have pizza. So I've been kind of saying this to people now on my sales calls. They'll be like, hey, do you like handle like Shopify marketing? And I'm like, we're a pizza restaurant, man. Like we have really, really good pizza, but you don't want to buy a taco from us. Like we don't make tacos.
Yeah.
We're just really good at making pizza, and that's what you do. And I think to your point, we've kind of just stayed in our lane, and we've been fortunate that like the other shiny objects out there didn't look nearly as attractive as the road that we were on, or else we probably would have pursued some of those. But we've just kind of kept at doing what we do. And yeah, you have to be mindful of other opportunities that are out there as a business owner. But, my advice to business owners as they're starting is find a profitable, replicable transaction.
Profitable, replicable transaction.
Yeah.
I love
so
that.
Let's say, this product, CONSCIOUS1, is your profitable, replicable transaction. I know how to sell it. I know it's a profit, and I know how to find a customer for it. I have to, knock on one door and I can get, 1/10 of a customer. 10 doors equals one customer. Boom. Profitable, replicable. So then you just have to scale that. That's the final ingredient. Scale. Okay, I just scale this thing, right? And maybe, your ability to replicate that doesn't quite scale. So many people we know probably, fell in love with the digital marketing thing. And it's like, I can just get so many customers without even leaving my house, but I think we know that can be really hard, really dangerous. So I just tell people, like, before you add product number 2, 3, 5, 10, 100, and service number 2, 5, 10, like just find that one transaction that works and just scale that like many, many times over. Like that is a business. I'm a stump grinding service. Well, do you cut down trees? No, no, I don't. I just grind stumps. That's all I do, man. Because to cut down trees, now you need a chainsaw. And, this is a really tall tree. So now I need a way to get up here. Now I need a boom lift. And then, hey, do you trim hedges too? Well, yeah, we do, but I don't have the right, I don't have clippers. I have chainsaw. So now I need clippers. And before you know it, your business is far more complicated. And maybe it's better, but maybe not. Now you have 15 employees instead of 1, and you have all this equipment and all this stuff, and it's not really leading you to your goal, which is like, I want to be happy, healthy, profitable. Like now I'm like unhappy, stressed out. I'm not making any money. It's like, well, you added a lot of things into the fray that weren't necessarily important for you.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding. I think it really is like our egos. We just want to. I think for some people it's just boring. I think one evolution that's happened. I always say, what's the difference between tradition and habit? Right. So people always say, like, this is a tradition. This is a tradition. Right.
Interesting.
And I say, well, what is that? But no one can explain to me what is the difference between a tradition and a habit. Right. It's like tradition is sort of a glorified habit, and a habit is something that's like a bad tradition.
Thanksgiving's a tradition.
Yeah, but what if
things?
Yeah, exactly. So here's another analogy that I've more recently come to terms with. What is different between it's boring and I'm addicted? Okay, bear with me on this. I talk to so many entrepreneurs, and I'm like, look, calm down. You're just going to put one foot in front of the other, right? So I want you to make 5 sales calls, and we're just going to sell these accounts, and we're just going to ask them how they're doing, talk to the account, build it, and then we're going to get one product so we can ship them a case, and then we're going to get shipping label. We're going to send them the tracking and an invoice, and then we're going to take like a lunch break for a minute. That's too fucking boring, dude. Well, we need to be doing this and that and this and that and this. But what it is, maybe you're just addicted to the hits. Because 50 years ago, this is how everybody operated. 50 years ago, 60 years ago, all of these, they were successful businesses back then, and it was one foot in front of another, one foot in front of another. When you really look at the Apple lineup of products, it's actually quite boring. Like, Apple makes a Mac. Then they have that for years and years and years and years. Then they have the Airbook, and then they have the years and years and years and years. Look at Tesla, look at the car company. Subaru makes a car, and the Subaru exists for like 5 years. Then they upgrade the model. Like, it's actually a pretty boring business model. They sure can have fun on the other stuff, but I think we've become addicted. And that if we're that bored by scaling a business like this, we can't find the enjoyment in this path. And it kind of aligns with the Naval Ravikant thing. Like, if you can't sit there in silence quietly, and you will very quickly determine like the quality of your life. So I think that, I think what you said is really magic, and I understand how hard it is. Like, don't think I'm just shitting on people that do that, because I have been there.
I've been there too.
It's so hard to not chase these shiny objects. It's so difficult. And I always, you said something earlier, which was the fast way is the slow way.
Yeah.
I always, I think sometimes when you make things so fast, you will never appreciate it, and you will end up blowing this money. The statistics on people win lottery, I think like 97% of people actually go completely bankrupt because they just don't feel like they've earned the money. So I really think by seasoning, it's kind of like working out. People that gain muscle too fast and it just goes. People that really have held muscle tissue for a period of like 15, 20 years, they have muscle maturity and they have muscle memory, and now it's become like a solidified thing. I think people, if you're able to hold $1 million in a bank account for a period of 5 years, 10 years, it's probably not going anywhere. But if you just got it really fast and you just made a quick buck, like a lot of people did on cryptos, made all this money, and like so many people lost tons and tons of money. Same thing during COVID, all of that money that was being made, a lot of people just spent it really fast because it was too easy, it was too fast. So methodical, one foot in front of the other. As boring as it is, I would question why you're so bored.
I think it might be because they think that success is their ultimate desire, but they might be more interested in the path looking cool than they actually are, like getting to the end, right? Because if being successful was the only thing that you were important in, or you took stock in, I'll connect you with my buddy Rob Smith. He owns a waste management business, and he's exited it for, I think, upwards of 10 million.
Amazing.
So waste management. Well, like, I can connect you with him. He'd love for you to come and help him out. He's a smart dude, really charismatic, awesome dude. But you're like, well, no, I don't want to do waste management. It's like, okay, well, then success isn't your ultimate desire. There's something in between there that you're looking for that isn't necessarily being met by, like, I'm going to go behind the scenes and operate these waste management companies and then get out on the other side when I'm 65 with 10, 20, 30 million.
Yeah.
Something in between there.
We've got to a style over substance society. And I think everybody's just so hyped up on stuff. Back for any people that have been in the industry for a long time, years and years ago, there's a company called EAS.
Yeah.
And EAS made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And EAS was the
Brady
top
Quinn.
dog.
They had Brady Quinn
Brady
out there.
Quinn, yeah. They had all
Myoplex,
football
right?
players. Myoplex, yeah.
It was good. I liked it.
It was like the hottest brand. Like, there's still nothing really being like that now. And they were super hot. And, there was a company called Optimal Nutrition, which got started in basically like a garage, right? And when I had my retail store and we sold Optimum Nutrition, we sold EAS, and we were selling like 3 times as much EAS to Optimum. And the Optimum crew I actually worked for, was doing some consulting work for them. And internally, the Costello brothers are like, we're going to beat EAS. And like, it's hard. I mean, you're obviously being positive because you work for the company. But you're like, come on, man, you're really going to beat EAS? Like, EAS is like the top dog.
Kind
of
like TV commercials,
fucking everything. Dude, they walk around those $1,000 leather jackets. Like, it was like the place to be. And Bill Phillips walking around with all these. He was like the hot dog on the Oprah Winfrey and everything. So what ended up happening was go look now. Go look now. Whereas Optimal was EAS. EAS was a really flashy company.
Super flashy.
But where are they now? And now look, Optimal Nutrition is still killing it. Still killing it. Beverly International still exists. I mean, like they started 1967. So I think there's a lot to be said as well for just enjoying that. And just making that determination of life and in every aspect of your life of the consistency of it. I think there's nothing wrong with flash sometimes and enjoying life. You can certainly do it, but I think you enjoy the flash more when you realize that you don't mind if you lose it. It's kind of like the gambling philosophy. Like you should never gamble more than you're willing to lose. If you've got a really great business, conservative, you want to go drop $20,000 in like a little private area instead of a club in Vegas, you don't mind doing it. But when you're spending that money, you got nothing else to back it up. It's a road to nowhere.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, man. We'll hit the head and then we'll come back. Well, one thing I want to do, Jason, is round this out because I don't think we ever like kind of hit the ingredient profile.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back to this, dude. That'd be fantastic.
Vitamin B6, B12, and sodium. That's kind of your general electrolytes. Am I appropriate in saying so?
Yep. Well, B6, B12, just B6 for absorption. So we use P5P, B6. And then we also have like B12, the methyl B12, which is just great for like your whole nervous system, period. The sodium in here is from organic pink Himalayan salt.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily directly like an electrolyte drink in any way.
Right. Tell me about the creative optimization here. DMT.
Yeah.
DEA,
so
for those listening.
So this is the organic matcha, ceremonial grade matcha tea. We use like a whole organic green tea. A lot of people don't understand that they using these extracts, it just doesn't work the same. The versus using the whole organic tea. We also use a Jaguar tea, you'll notice on here too, and some theanine, which we have very specific sources for. So first, let me say regarding the sources, these are critical because when they grow in certain regions, the plants and the teas are extremely healthy and they have other components of it that have health benefits and actually have neurological effects that when you start to change these plants or pull out extracts, they just don't work the same. So the Jaguar tea that we use in here, same thing with the matcha, but specifically the Jaguar, it's a certain mountainous region in Thailand. I personally know the farmers there, like the actual, like you see the guys walking up like the little mountains with the hats, like those guys, right? And they, not only do they maintain the farming of it, but even the pressure that they apply to pull these plants and leaves and how they're rolled and the temperature that they are, set under, and then also how they're milled a very specific way to make sure that it doesn't get damaged. So a lot of the secrets of this product, people are going to think like, man, I feel really good. But they don't want to believe that it's from the mother nature, like how the plant and the tea is handled, I should say. So these first ingredients right here are the tea base. And we trademarked the name DMT. So it's pretty catchy.
I like that. It's good.
It's pretty fun. And then, we have here lion's mane, organic lion's mane mushrooms. And we also have cordyceps mushrooms too, both organic as well. We use fully organic, nothing other than that. And we also use a fruiting body, hot water extracted. So again, it maintains the integrity of these mushrooms, the quality, the actual part that you would get like a neuroregenerative effect from. And then we have some caffeine in here. Organic ginkgo biloba, rhodiola, and vintage dicaffeine malate, which is like a buffered caffeine. So it's a little bit longer lasting and a little bit more gentle on your stomach. And we've got some tyrosine alpha GPC, which is a choline source. It's great for acetylcholine levels. And then I have a license for Synapsa Bacopa, which I believe is the best Bacopa that you could get. It's an Ayurvedic herb, which is imported from India. And we also have Pharma GABA, which is like a fermented GABA that absorbs a lot better than regular GABA. So that's been a common question too for those of you that are nootropic junkies or people that are sort of raw material specialists. Of why would we put Pharma GABA in a neurological product like this? Pharma GABA is very, very researched. First off, like Mitsubishi actually has the rights to it. It's their ingredient. So we have to license it from Mitsubishi. But Pharma GABA also is an important part of this because when you're taking stimulants, especially any sort of caffeine, then it can lower the GABA levels in your stomach, which is why people get like a nervous stomach. A lot of that's from like their GABA levels dropping. And another thing too, in a society where alcohol consumption has gone up, people notice that GABA levels are off the next day from like a downregulation from GABA. So this could be used the next day to sort of kind of level out from drinking as well. It's not an anti-hangover drink at all, but it also helps to normalize GABA levels. So a lot of people would drink this and find the Pharma GABA and the theanine that's in here as well, that it actually puts them in a place, and the dopamine that they would get from the teas that they do not feel like they can drink on it, or do not want to drink, or do not want to use if they are smoking weed, doing shrooms, doing any other stuff, ecstasy and all this. But so it's kind of become a healthy thing to keep you on the straight and narrow, so to speak.
Balanced out. And then your Picasso activation and decalcification blend.
So I ended up keeping the Picasso name on because it was the original.
It's a good name.
Yes, so we still maintain the rights to use it in the different classes of beverages, powders, tea, supplements, so forth. And it's pineal activation and decalcify. A lot of people think that like function of the pineal gland is just like some sort of spiritual thing, but it's a pretty real thing. Melatonin is secreted out of your pineal gland. A lot of melatonin comes from your gut, right? But it also secretes from pineal gland. And some people believe that your pineal gland is really like a portal.
The third eye, right?
Third eye, yes. So to consciousness. Interestingly, though, a lot of heavy metals can, over time, calcify your pineal gland and actually lower your function.
Isn't that like the idea behind high levels of fluoride, right? That fluoride can...
Correct.
That's why some people are against putting fluoride in the water.
I'm completely against it. Yeah, it's the thing is like let's look at the rise in autism. Let's look at the rise in just people's cognitive function just declining, right? And there's more and more and more metals that are entering people's bodies. All the shit that's being sprayed in the skies. Like, look up. Like, come on, man. There's lines in the sky. There's a vertical line going like this. I'm like, what is that line? Like, I bet if I interview 10 people and I say, what's that line? They'll say, oh, it's a plane. Come on, man. Would you get on that plane? It's going like this or this. Would you get on that? Nah, it does look kind of weird now I think about it. But with that unconscious to it and like not really paying attention to it. So all of this stuff being sprayed, the fluoride in the water, fluoride in toothpaste, aluminum in deodorant is another common one. Shit that's being put in laundry detergent, everything. I mean, it's even in food now, like all the foods, like they're all toxic. So this last blend of ingredients is really, really important to help remove heavy metals and also start this detoxification process and really make your brain and your body's function a lot healthier. We also make a product called Detox 19. So we make 3 products, Amino Code, CONSCIOUS1, and Detox 19. And that is specifically a toxic heavy metal cleanser. So I use zeolite, EDTA, Shilajit. Some of the same ingredients are in here, but it's like a souped up version. And you can stack the two. And that's really great for like a gentle daily detox from all of the heavy metals. I advise you take it away from like vitamins and minerals per se. Empty stomach first thing in the morning. You could take 2 scoops of CONSCIOUS1, 2 to 4 detox caps, and it just starts you off on that right path. It's amazing. I have feedback from people that have taken our detox product, and they say that they like feel like they've shedded like new skin. Like they feel like a completely different person. And a lot of it is people don't realize these toxic heavy metals, how they affect them. So chelation is another thing. We don't do chelation, but chelation's slowly, you will see it become more and more popular. I have seen kids that are straight up like extreme autistic kids, and they've done chelation and heavy metal detoxification for like as long as 2 or 3 years, and it's completely gone. So there's a lot to be said. What I make is more of a gentle detox and a preventative that you can use every day to prevent getting in this shape. But people that do have serious toxicities should really consider getting tested and get it out. And why would you believe anything the government says anyway?
Yeah. I got some questions for you that I want to ask to entrepreneurs that I respect. I already asked you about what you do, what you should do, and what your team thinks that you should do. But how do you continue to learn while balancing that actively running the business, right? Because you got to run your business, but you want to learn and get better. They sometimes are in conflict of each other because change can't happen while you're like rowing the boat, right? So how do you balance learning and operating the business?
I feel like they're actually very synonymous.
Okay.
So I maybe disagree with you a little bit. I think that when you're growing a business, you are actively in it. I talk about becoming, right? And you're becoming, you're fully engaged and present in the thick of things. You're in the fire building it. You're going to have highs and lows, and you're going to continue learning through the experiences of this business. If you made a bad mistake, if I make a bad mistake this week, I'm going to learn, and the bad mistake is going to come from doing. I think, personally, for me at least, reading so much hasn't done a whole lot for me. Studying so much hasn't done a lot for me. Like, doing has been my learning thing. Maybe I'm just too stubborn. I like to think that I could read something and just pivot my whole life. It hasn't happened that way. You know, it's an Andrew Tate quote. You either learn things the hard way or the very hard way. I, for some dumbass reason, have to learn the very hard way, right? Yeah. So, and I think most people do. So I think the act of being in the thick of business, like the real thick of it, is how you learn. Secondarily, I can't give one more important than the other, but I think the second most important thing is going to be taking time off.
That's one of my questions here is how do you balance work and life?
Yeah, you've got to have this time off. I think that, I think people that just sit there and they never pull the trigger and they're just aiming their whole life, that's not going to work. I think people that just are trigger happy, that's not going to work. It's a balance between you see it, you do it, right? It's a balance between you think, like I love hiking. I'll go for long, long hikes, like 2, 3, 4 hours minimum. Sometimes I've done like 8 to 10 hour hikes, right? And I'm just thinking and I'm fasted. I'm on my conscious one. I'm drinking my tea and I'm in a higher state at this point. And I'm really slowing myself down. Sometimes the first hour or two, it takes just to take the sort of ADHD off, and you kind of slowly settle in. And then you're like, okay, I can actually see a problem here, what I need to fix in my business, what I need to work on myself. And then when I get back to work that night or the next day, I am like all in. The speed that I can execute and the speed that I'm able to tackle things is unparalleled. And then you'll get to a point where things start to get cloudy again. But you also need the time to process. No one takes time to process. I had to go, this is the mistake I made. So earlier on in this podcast, we were talking about working with different therapists, saying that you have not had time to process. The speed that you've gone through on these events is fucking crazy, that you need to slow down and really understand what happened. So, sorry, long-winded answer, Alex, very importantly, learn through doing and process what you've learned through not doing and just taking the time away. The processing is in stillness. The learning is in movement. And this balance back and forward is like the cadence you have to have. And you typically need one more than another at a certain time.
I guess when it comes to more so my question about like learning while actually actively doing the business, the feeling that I get, and I've said it a couple of times on this podcast, is that what got us from here to where we are now is not going to get us to where we want to go into the future, right? There's a different set of skills that build a business to 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, right, than the skills that take that business from 5 to 50 million, right? You have to be like a maniacal control freak to get to 5 million. You have to be just like hustling. You got to be like, boom, going. That's what we did. Like I would sleep in the office. But now if I still have to sleep in the office to operate my business, I have done something fundamentally wrong that I haven't been able to hire and train and delegate. And it's like, why do you need to be here at like 11 p.m.? Like, what could possibly be going on with your business at 11 p.m. that is so important you have to handle it right now? And if the answer is there is something, it's like you did something wrong.
Right.
So I kind of pose that question to say, like, how do you balance, like, I still need to change and grow and build this business forward, but I need to row the boat and steer the boat. I'm trying to balance rowing and steering, right? Like, I got to steer because I'm the only person who knows where we're going, right? I have coordinates that my employees don't have. But sometimes they want to see me rowing, and sometimes I need to step in and row. But if I only row, then we don't steer, right? So it's just kind of that balancing act that I personally am struggling with. Like, how much time should I dedicate to learning and changing the business versus like working in the business? Mm-hmm. The old cliche is like, you don't want to work on your business, or you don't want to work in, you want to work on, right? So there's some amount of truth to that, but you can't only do one and you can't only do the other.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point, and I agree. I think you're using the word balance, and it is a balance. And thinking about the concept of like doing and then taking the time to process is a balance in itself. I think with what you're referring to, I'm going to go back to the learning thing first. I think outside of this cycle I'm talking about, the most powerful way to learn is to really talk to people that have done it. I think going to experts, going to people that have really are in the grind, that understands when you're at a $5 million point, let's just say you're in the supplement industry and you're at $5 million trying to get to 10. You find somebody that is at 10, that got from 5 to 10. I think you can really fast track it. Some people say it's mentors. Some people just think it's, just buying an hour of somebody's time. I've learned so much from so many people as well. And again, you got to listen to people that have done it, not people that just sit there and talk shit. I don't think fucking MBAs and school degrees like really teach you anything about business at all. So that's an important way to fast track learning. The second thing you talk about, which is the balance of like working in the business and on the business, is really critical. I do think you have to find that, and I think the one most important I'm not sure what the word would be here, but I would say it's a constant assessment. Constantly, like you're constantly looking at yourself and like, what am I doing right now? Like look at myself. Do I like who I am? If I'm in a relationship with a goal, or you're a goal and you're in a relationship with a guy, whatever relationship you're in, are you looking down saying you're like fighting every day? Do you like who you are today? Do you like, can you go up 50,000 feet, look down at it? And I think sometimes with guys like you and I, there is a commitment and a sort of a sanity that we find working in the business. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong that we clean our own floors sometimes. I don't think there's anything wrong that we go pack and order. I think that's okay. I think it keeps us humbled. But I think at a certain point, there's going to come this threshold where we're like, okay, wait a second here. We've got to find the balance of, like you said, steering the ship. I don't think that there's an exact mathematical remedy, because different stages of the business, you're going to work different places. I also use the analogy of being a front guy and a back guy. When I'm designing a product, I'm growing a beard. Mine's now stubble. You're growing a beard right now. But like when you were designing these things, you're locking yourself in your apartment and you're out in the middle of the desert or hiking trails. You're thinking, you're designing, you're creating. Now the product's done. It's ready to go. We're putting in stores. Now I'm the front guy. I'm going, I'm traveling, clean up, like let's go on the road, right? Mm-hmm. And it's always finding this balance. And you only know when you know, like you have to like assess, because sometimes you might be on a, on a sweeping the floors phase for like 4 weeks, and then you might be on a thinking macro for like 4 months.
Where do you go to continue to learn? I know you said you work in the business.
Yeah, I still think I think everybody's different. I think how people learn is everybody's different. I still just go, I think just doing more and just experience. I think as long as I can be better tomorrow than I am today, and I can actually learn from mistakes and things I've done, then I'm taking the right path. I don't see any other way of learning. I think that I can't paint that picture in my head. So a lot of the time, if I do a speaking engagement, it's high. I must have to stop myself from doing this because it's like I have a story for everything, So I was like, oh, let me tell you a story about what happened. But that's like how I've learned. I can't really quote as many books. And so many people talk, like now we're in a day and age on the internet where everybody's talking about like the statistics, and you have all these reels and shorts, and they're like, this guy comes on and says, if you do this and you do that, then you have this experience, your testosterone goes up, and blah, blah, blah. This is all great. But, it's like, it goes back to the application of it. So many things I think have to be neurally rewired in you. It's so hard to make change. Like it's so difficult to put the other shoe on first. But if you ever try doing something with your left hand that you've done with your right hand for so long, it's so difficult to do. So I still think just repetitively doing it and running in the fire and being in the thick of things and taking risks. Take risks, like calculated risks, is the most important thing. You just continue to regenerate new neural pathways, new learning and new experience. You get metrics too fast this way. Good metrics too, not somebody else's bullshit metrics.
How do you build a culture within your team without trying to feel like you're preaching them your way?
You have to lead by example. I think two things with culture. You have to lead by example. You have to hire the right people. I do not believe in training people. I don't believe in it anymore. It's always failed me. I can meet somebody now and very, very quickly know if they're going to be a good fit for something. So, and anytime I've gone off that path, it just doesn't work. I had a guy that works for me now, and he used to work for me when I did events. And I said, have you ever worked security before? And he said, I've never worked security in my life. I said, well, have you ever worked as like a right-hand security, like traveling security guy, and you're going to be a dispatcher too? You're going to do like everything. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like this guy's like, I've never done it. I said, you're a perfect fit for it. And that's what he did. And he worked with me for over 10 years. And he was the best. I can't even imagine doing an event without this guy, right? And now I hired him from all treatment. And so you've got to find the right people in the right places, and and the culture just organically gets built. But you've got to do it yourself. Every time we did a show and a party, I was willing to get in the mud. I'm willing to get my hands dirty. So I live that party. Like, we're throwing a party. It's going to be fucking great. And you're excited about it. You're genuinely excited about it. You're the first guy in the door and you're the last guy out. If you're the first guy in and the last guy out, it's hard for people to not get on board with that culture. They have to come into your frame. So, that's very, very important. I think how you treat people sets the tone of how they're going to treat each other. If I've got 10 employees and we're at a trade show, and if I say please and thank you to everybody, and how my gesture is and how I welcome my staff and how I treat them with what they want to do and say and whether they get lunch breaks and all this stuff, they will treat each other the exact same way. They follow by example. I don't think you can train people as good as we're trying to make sheep lions and lions sheep, man. We're trying to make a fucking tiger like a bird. I don't do it anymore in my personal life either. If you're a certain way, you're a certain way. And that's it. And I'm okay. And if you change, great. If you don't, that's perfectly great too.
On that topic, how do you attempt to give people feedback without hurting their feelings, making them defensive, or just avoiding the conversation altogether?
On a personal or business or both?
Both.
This is something else I've changed on. I've cut back on giving people feedback by 95%. if I have a friend like you, you're in the 5%. I would give you the feedback. If people don't want my feedback, why am I giving it to them? I've stopped. It's done nothing but damage me. I've gotten on the phone with friends. I've said, hey, listen, I just want to share something with you. I think you're messing this up. I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think this is a mistake. And I've got nothing but defensiveness. Every year that's gone past for the last 15 years, people have gotten more and more and more sensitive and more.
I would agree.
Yeah, the triggering is fucking out of control. I'm done. I'm out. The 5%, some of my friends that can take it, if they can take it, and if they are asking me, like, then I will give it to them. And I will give it to them really, really straight. I recently had a really good friend of mine say, I want to ask you, like, what do you genuinely think about this? And I got the disclaimers. I said, can I have all the disclaimers? Like, you and me are cool. We're still boys. Like, we're okay. Yep, that's fine. And I fucking let him have it. And he's like, I can't believe you feel this way. And you know what? He really appreciated it. And he actually took some of the information and made the change. One of the biggest things I did when I was going through my transformation, my personal sort of like hellhole that I was in, I relentlessly asked people questions about everything. And especially with relationships, because I had dated for so long and I was like, what is it? Like, how did you guys meet in relationships? How did you guys decide you're going to have kids and all of this stuff? At the same time, simultaneously, in my personal life, I was asking people questions about their business and their entrepreneurship and the highs and lows they had. And this is where I ask people, where am I fucking up? And people will give you, it will shock you what people will tell you. It will shock you. Like, there are people that will say the basic stuff. Jason, I'd be like, what's wrong with my business? They're like, you need to be on social media. And you're like, okay, cool, that's fine. Some people are like, you're going too fast. You're going too slow. But you've got to be in this open mindset for it. And I think most people are just not. I don't really waste my time as much anymore. If somebody wants to know where I think, I'll tell them. If they don't, that's on them.
It's something I heard today is assemble something you would call a blind spot council, where you go, hey, Jason, what's my blind spot that I'm not seeing here? You know, tell me what I'm not seeing. Or maybe I don't want to see. Maybe I'm simply just missing it. Or it's something that I couldn't see on my own because I'm so dedicated and focused to my thing.
Definitely.
And I love that idea, especially if you have, like you said, people that respect you and you respect. You know, you can't miss on either of those things, because if you don't respect the person that you're asking, they tell you like, hey, well, you're kind of an asshole. You're going to be like, well, you're not right. You're wrong. Or if vice versa, if they don't respect you, they're going to tell you you're an asshole, and you're going to be like, oh, ow, that kind of hurt, you know?
You got to look for that. You have to sometimes find those right people. I think you can just completely skyrocket every aspect of your life. Like we talk about mentorship and we talk about all this stuff. If you have a person in your life that you really, really respect, and you guys can sit down and shoot the shit, maybe there's a group you get together with once a week, once a month, I don't know, and you can just completely, honestly, openly say like, hey, I think you're fucking this up. And the person's not going to be triggered or take offense to it. And everybody's open-minded, or it's open playing field. It is absolutely ginormous what you can do. But people are so triggered now, and they can't seem to get in that space. And they, a lot of people, they just want the positive feedback. I don't know what the name of it is, but when people only seek, like let's just say in the political world,
confirmation bias, basically.
Confirmation bias. That's what I'm looking for. So people look at confirmation biased, and that's what they're always looking at. They don't want to see the negative feedback at all. But that's really where the growth is. The growth is in the pain. The growth is in like discovering that you're messing something up. When I was throwing parties, I had one of my best friends work with me, and she had to be there all the time, and she was very, very, very honest. Always very, very honest. And there was a time where I was doing shows. I mean, I stayed up for like 3 days straight, not slept, like building these show sets and all. I thought it was amazing. And everybody stands there, you see it's kind of very prototypical. I was like, oh, Jason, that's such an amazing show. It's so good. And she would just be kind of a bitch about it. And she would say like, hey, I don't think it was that good. And I remember one time I kind of argued with her. I was like, man, I feel like you're just cutting me down. I feel like you're not respecting what I did. And she's like, no, I don't care. I'm standing by it. Like, I don't think it's your best work. and I slept on it, and the next day I went to the drawing board, and it ended up being 5 times as good. The negative feedback is really, like you said, the blind spot. That's a great way of putting it. Where is that blind spot? And I think we have to seek that out if we're really serious about healing or really serious about growth.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for people to accept it if they're not seeking it, if it like just hits them, sort of like, I'm going to have a good day. And then right away your boss is like, hey, you missed this thing. You're just like, no, I didn't. No, I delivered on it, well, what about you when you miss all these, and you just like start going defensive. I see that happen so often. We had a joke back when I played soccer. This guy, real nice guy, but anytime you would like make a joke, we're just like, joking, guys joking with each other, and you'd make a joke about him, he would like go to personal attacks, like deep cutting. Well, your girlfriend's ugly, and you're like, whoa, like that's not like, we're just joking around, dude. Like, right. I told you your socks don't match, and I think about that all the time. And there's people that I've interacted with where they'll do that. You'll say, hey, like, this thing that you did, like, I didn't really like it or appreciate it. And they'll bring up something from 5 years ago. Yeah, well, what about when you're just like, whoa, like you've been holding on to this thing, And, it's not to say that it's not a two-way street when you give feedback, but it's like, that wasn't the premise of this conversation to like talk about all the stuff that I've done wrong.
You watch this, I think it goes back to the metrics of experience. Like, if I was to look at 100 people that I've like just said, I used to be so blunt all the time, just directly, hey, let's talk. I'm going to just say what I'm going to say. It's not worked in my favor 98% of the time. Maybe 99. It just doesn't work. And I think people, the next phase of this conversation would go to, don't you feel like it would help them, or don't you feel like it's important just to say it so you said it? And I'm like, no, I think it's actually important not to in some cases. I think it's like, it's a sort of like a self-love thing. Like, why should I? Why should I sit here and then trigger them and hit nasty shit out of their mouth? And they don't really care anyway. And they just become defensive. Like, if you're in a place to receive, they say, are you ready, willing, and able? Like, are you in that place ready, willing, and able to receive something? And if you're not, why are we wasting our time?
Well, Jason, man, I appreciate you, dude. Is there anything else that you want to cover, or definitely tell people where they can find some of your products and connect with you out on the Ethernet?
Definitely. So, yes, look us up. We're at theultrahuman.net. So that's ultrahuman.net. And CONSCIOUS1 is officially launched.
So people are going to be able to get this when this is...
Yes, it should be up and available in about 2 weeks from today. I'm not sure when this podcast will go live, but definitely hop on, check some out, and I think you'll be really, really happy. It's truly my life's work. It's taken all of my experience and stuff that I've learned in my life and put it into one product, and you will see a bigger ecosystem that will continue to build out of this. And please reach out to me anytime through our website. I'd love to hear from you. I love engaging with people, and I'm so humbled to have met amazing people like Alex that can help share the word. So,
and it looks like your signature's on every bottle?
It is, yep. Every single one of them I sign. Every once in a while we have somebody else sign them, but for the most part, about 90% of them I actually sit there and just get them signed. So they got each product has like a batch number to it.
Amazing, man. I feel great, and this is a work of art, dude. Congrats.
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate
brother.
you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.